I leveled up in my Discord when I announced our stream going live.
Amazing. Yeah. Welcome to NoCB, a grand strategy podcast. This is for the week of the 18th of August, 2021. I am your host, Leona, and today I'm here once again with Just Rose.
Hello, once again, with just
Yes,
me.
just
I don't
another
think.
Len and Rose show. I think this is the second time that we've done.
No, I
Is
don't
it?
think we've ever had a ladies only.
Well, there was the one that was specifically set up that way, but I think we did have
Yeah.
one other, like, within this year. I think we had one other week that it was just the two. If I'm remembering
Was
right.
there? I remember there was
Yeah,
one that was just. Maybe
I
it
could be
was.
misremembering, but yeah.
I could be misremembering too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the black hole got Lambert and Loris this week. It was a 2-for-1 special. And they should be back next time. But we have a fair bit of news to talk about. We don't have a Dostoevsky length Hearts of Iron novel this week.
Thank God.
Thank God for most of you. Maybe a couple of you are disappointed about that. But we do have a fair bit of news, and we'll be talking a little bit about Humankind as well, since the embargo on that has dropped.
It's still a large a large dev diary. It's just not
It is.
a behemoth. It's not going to crush and break your toes if you drop it on your foot.
Yeah, it's a little bit shorter because it does turn out this is where the Romanovs were hiding, and they didn't want to make a big deal of it. They kind of hid in a little slice of the the focus tree over there, so they wouldn't be found. We're going to start as usual with Victoria 3 though, and I actually want to rewind back a little bit to last week's dev diary. If I can find. Oh, sorry,
You need a link for it?
Forgot to switch the transition. So you got shot by Father Loris's dude again. Yeah, so last week you guys talked a little bit about how there aren't going to be any stockpiles in Victoria 3, which is part of it. But this is also... I wanted to draw attention to... this is what I'm calling the Great Compromise of Victoria 3. Because we knew... I kind of assumed that, like, they had to do something. That, like, they're deepening all of these systems and they're adding so much new stuff, and Victoria 2 was already so much of a technical disaster. Like, there had to be a compromise in here somewhere, right? And what I think some people picked up on about this dev diary, others maybe didn't, is that goods kind of don't actually exist in Victoria 3. In a weird way, it's all buy orders and sell orders. So you're not going to be able to track, like, okay, there is a unit of clothing and it's at this factory and now it's going to the next state over and it's being sold or whatever. It's all abstracted out as buy and sell orders, which is in one specific way. In this one specific way, this is where they made it less of a simulation, I think, than Victoria 2 is. They did it to actually get the economy working correctly, which I think is a perfectly reasonable reason to do this. I'm 90% okay with this change, is what I've been telling people. It's because, yeah, Victoria 2's economy most of the time didn't work. I think he points out mysterious systematic failures where all the world's cement might end up locked inside a warehouse in Missouri. That's definitely something that could happen with the fixed...
I mean,
yeah.
We could just have mountain caves full of cheese.
Yeah, you know. Why not? Yeah, the fixed money supply, I'm totally fine with them doing away with the fixed money supply. I think that caused way more problems than it solved. So yeah, it is a trade-off. This is an abstraction that did not exist in Victoria 2. And I'm glad to know what that is now, because I was kind of like, how is this game even going to run unless you have, like, you know, a quantum, you know, computer cooled by liquid nitrogen or something. So yeah, I think that's... Some people are upset about the military stockpiling. You know, I'm kind of like, whatever on that. I think this is what a lot of people were also concerned about in the comments, and I get why. I do think that it is absolutely true, where he says, we believe that the complexity, responsive simulation, and interesting gameplay added by this approach more than make up for what we lose. So it's a bit less simulation-y, but in terms of like the outcomes you're going to see on your screen, I think they are going to look and feel more realistic than what we saw in Victoria 2. Even if it is a little bit disappointing that we're losing a little bit of the simulation from that. That was kind of my takeaway from that dev diary, which you guys kind of touched on with the stockpile system, but I wanted to give my take on that as well, because it is a fairly big deal that they've made this change. And, be curious to hear what people in chat have to say about that as well. Because yeah, it was kind of, if you didn't read the dev diary very closely, it was very easy to miss that. That they've reworked the economy in a fairly large way here. So, but this week's dev diary. As we're
having Valorgain point out in chat, it's
Yeah.
a balance between it's a game and it's a simulation.
Right. Which, like, every Paradox game has to do that, and, like, I was afraid...
Ooh. There's an idea to simulate sort of stockpiles without actually stockpiling anything. We might have, like, a ticker for maybe army preparedness or something.
That could be an interesting way to do it. Yeah, where, like, you have to... your army would generate buy orders for like shells and things that would raise the army preparedness if they were able to get those. Yeah,
not even just the army, but perhaps through taxes or whatever, you divert a certain amount to your army, which raises the preparedness, which lets them fight for longer and better.
I would like that. That would be cool. And we haven't seen any of the military stuff yet either. So, maybe military units. We've seen that factories can have like a reserve. It's currently a cash reserve, but I don't know. Maybe military units could have some kind of like a readiness reserve where they would consume shells, and it would build up a bar that like will tick down over time. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, I think when we see how the military system is actually going to work, it's going to answer a lot of questions and probably create a lot of new ones as well. So this week's dev diary, I don't have any reservations about at all. I think this is just cool stuff. With the infrastructure dev diary, which we got teased last week, talking about how infrastructure will affect market access, how if you just keep building factories, you might not necessarily be able to get all the goods from those factories to market because you need better infrastructure.
Which makes sense.
Right, of course.
I mean, you need those railroads or canals or, something besides wagon trails.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, the fact that, like, farms can, like, employ more people for less infrastructure, whereas, like a furniture factory won't employ as many people and costs more infrastructure. So you have, like, this balance between, okay, do I want simple industries that provide lots of jobs and don't use a lot of infrastructure, or do I want to have fewer jobs and require more infrastructure, but I make more money? It's kind of cool. Also, you can use rivers as infrastructure until you can build better infrastructure, which is really cool.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even now, rivers are extremely important.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, like, in this era, like, in the U.S., like, the Mississippi River was like, a huge artery for shipping. So, like, before you get railroads out to the Pacific, it's probably going to make a lot of sense to develop your industry along the Mississippi, because you just get free... I mean, this is the Nepper, and we're getting... Oh, I didn't switch to... Oh, yeah, I did switch to browser. Okay, cool. I'm a step ahead of myself. Yeah, this is plus 20 state region infrastructure, so I guess since these are all their own...
Leanna,
what?
Rivers are indeed extremely important.
Okay, who said that?
Chris Leverney.
Okay, you're getting a bonk for that. No, I won't. Fine. Yeah, so yeah, I guess I would assume different rivers will give different infrastructure levels, probably. I mean, like Lambert pointed out last week that it's not lake, it's the Great Lakes, so probably, they can modify this number based on where you are in the world. But, yeah, I like how this system is turning out. That they're in and
Leanna, you've now been dared to
I've
give
been.
Chris a bonk.
I don't think there is actually a bonk, but like I don't want to actually like give you like a 10-minute ban or anything like that.
Well, you know what? That would be a fun emote for us to get
That
Father
would
Loris
be.
if we get him to make the NoCB emote, do one of a bonk or something.
Yeah. I would just want Twitch to add a bonk feature where it's like, okay, this user has been bonked for 10 minutes, and then just I don't know, they show up as a different color or something like that.
Get a little icon by their name.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't. I think we pretty much covered this diary. I don't know if there's anything. Some of it was stuff we had already heard. Some of it was like.
Well, I mean, it also says at the very end that infrastructure also ties into other mechanics such as military logistics and migration.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be like if you.
And it only works for the land. When the sea is concerned, there are other systems that play.
So that makes that. I guess that would make sense that like once you get like the Union Pacific Railroad set up, like probably like more people will start moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. They don't have to do the Oregon Trail and risk their wagon tipping over and spilling all of their
Or,
food.
everyone dying of cholera
Yeah.
and diphtheria and
Yeah.
running out of food and then going to kill a buffalo and then you can't carry it all back,
Yep.
so you're still starving.
Yep. Yeah. I just feel like it's almost like that Pawn Stars meme when you take out a buffalo in Oregon Trail. It's like the kill resulted in 400 pounds of meat. How much can I bring you back to my wagon? Best I can do is 4 pounds. Yeah. We got a little Twitter teaser on Twitter. Also, everybody's gonna yell at me again because I still am using light mode.
Yep.
I
You're
use
a heretic. It doesn't even match the background. Like, it clashes with the
it does.
beautiful
I
background that
use
Father Loris gave us.
I use TweetDeck though, so like I almost never look at web Twitter. That's the other thing.
Go hit.
Um, yeah. So tomorrow's Dev Diary is going to be out about employment and qualifications. I'm not sure what this means yet. I guess qualifications are like job postings. Like the state is requesting this many of this type of pop to fill its industries.
Or
maybe?
education level, perhaps.
Yeah.
Skills. Like, I mean, if you think about it, pre-industrial society, you needed you had very few but very skilled workers.
Right.
And then we're switching to you need a lot of workers and only a tiny handful of them have to be skilled. The rest, you just teach them how to do one thing.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm very curious because this is like the first Dev Diary where it's like, oh, I had not heard of this system yet. So like most of the other ones, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I heard about this at PDXCon, and now we're gonna get more detail on it. Qualifications is not something I saw at all so far. So yeah, how that's gonna work will be interesting.
And then there's also like, I mean, education and industrialization kind of went hand in hand because for the factories, they needed people who had a same basic skill set.
Right. So
And you needed to employ workers that could do addition, subtraction, adding. The reading wasn't so important for most of them, but they needed people that could do numbers and think logically and were good, loyal, upstart citizens.
yeah, we need to get these 266,000 peasants down here and teach them math. That's what we got to do.
You got to teach them math so they can keep track of all the
Yeah.
looms and the thread and how much we're going through. And Yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting state though because it looks like all they have are wheat farms and a barracks. So there's a feed store and then there's an army recruitment station and a GameStop. That's all they have in this wherever this is. I have no idea where this state actually is. Lots of peasants. Um. So yeah, you can potentially fill all these qualifications. I think you'd have a nice little economy going. Um, just like this nice dev diary we got from Crusader Kings 3. It's so weird that like we're already. I mean, obviously, yeah, 69 nice. We're already on dev diary number 69. It does not feel like Crusader Kings 3 has been around for that long. I'm like, how? I guess they announced it like quite a while before it actually came out.
Get this. They announced it the same weekend I announced I was pregnant with the Rosebud, which was at the end of the first trimester, and he's now 15 and a half months old.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah.
So 15 and a half months plus the, 8 months before that when I was pregnant, 7.5, 8 months.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It really, yeah, I guess it has at this point. Maybe because there hasn't been as much DLC for it, it doesn't feel that long. Like, if you remember, like, Crusader Kings 2, I think they released, like, 3 expansions the first year it was out. Maybe it was, because it was Sword of Islam and then Legacy of Rome came out, like, really quick, close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Republic might have been early 2013. I'm trying to remember the order, but
and then they also had little cosmetic packs and stuff too.
Right. Well, what's going on in Dev
we
Diary
get
69?
More details about artifacts. I mean, they do confirm here in the beginning that you can steal them as well as make them or come across them. So I'm guessing stealing, maybe there's intrigue plots. I would love to have that be a plot. Like, your neighbor has this fancy sword and you're like, I want it. Let's go steal it.
That would be
Start
fantastic.
a scheme for it.
I'd love it if it was, like Ocean's 11, like you can put a team together to like run a heist on your rival's castle. That would be
awesome. I know not for sure. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that that definite way to steal will be the same way from CK2, where you're sieging somebody, you finish the siege, and you have a chance to pick it up in the loot. They didn't hide it well enough from you.
What was the event? There was like an event chain for the Hermetic Order in CK2 where you would like break into like your rival's castle and like run pranks on him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to bring that back too. That was great.
So we have that, and then they also show us that the fact that we're actually getting a 3D room, the throne room. Mm-hmm. All of the artifacts are going to be in this room that you can look at, and I'm kind of wondering, like the way they're showing this, if we can walk around the room. Think of Bannerlord style, sort of.
I asked them about that, and they said that currently they didn't think that was possible. That it's going to be more of like an overlay where like you would click on an artifact and like the camera will zoom to it. I would love it if they figured out a way to do that eventually. Yeah. So. Yeah.
But we get to see a few artifacts here. There's a book, the Praetorian Volume of Revelry. We have a reliquary, which containing a piece of the Crown of Thorns. You think,
yeah. as long as the peasants believe it's real, that's all that really matters. Yeah.
And then, like, here says a fine urn taken from the Abbasid court, which makes lends support to the idea that when you're sieging down, you can take stuff.
Yeah, I would assume that'll be a thing for sure. I wonder if you'll be able to ransom back artifacts that get stolen from. So
I don't know, or if some artifacts are going to be. I mean, I think they did say at some point. I don't remember which dev diary. But that certain artifacts will only have certain meanings to cultures and religions, but you'll always get some sort of prestige for having it. Put the Sims into CK3. Yes. We need Sims Medieval.
The more Uh, yeah, the more like Mount and Blade type mechanics they put into Crusader Kings, the happier I would be.
Do you know what would be terrifying?
What would be terrifying?
EA and Paradox combining to make a Sims medieval game. It would be epic, but think of the DLC list.
Yeah, that would be like $1,000 of DLC within the first 2 years.
And there'd somehow be a Star Wars DLC for it.
So yeah, there would be we'd have Thanos in there. We'd have we'd have Ariana Grande. It would be a thing.
Mm-hmm. We have a meme in chat from Kazi Guy. Ransom my kids? Looking away in disgust. Ransom my Ming vase? Ooh, yeah.
Of course, yeah. You can keep my stupid kids. Just give me my sword back. Yeah. They also showed some of the like actual historical artifacts that they researched to create these models, which is pretty cool.
And they do go in to point out here that they took into consideration the fact that the artifacts that they're looking at nowadays are actually really, really old, and so they have some discoloration, grime, disrepair, and then they tried to roll it back to what it would have been while still making it look like it'd be believable if it's been sitting in your courtroom for 500 years.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm not sure if they actually said that the model will like actually change over time. Did they mention that?
No.
Like it'll actually look older the longer you have it? That'd be kind of
It seemed
cool,
like they
though.
were trying to find just a happy balance, so it looked old enough to not feel weird to us, but did not look as old as it does now.
That makes sense. Yeah. They also pointed out that like different cultures will have different types of artifacts because like in the Muslim world they don't really do statues of people.
Mm-hmm. And then I love this. An icon-clad cabinet. Don't tell the iconoclasts.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, presumably if you become iconoclast, certain artifacts will no longer be available to you.
Or yeah. And then we are also going to have some dynamic ones, such as the banners they show us here, which will display your coat of arms, or these ones say they are for the primary title held by the ruler, so you can show off your heraldry that way. I like the duck. Quack, quack, quack.
Oh yeah, you gotta get a duck in there.
And this tapestry is gorgeous.
Yeah, this is so detailed. This is probably the most detailed thing I've ever seen in a Paradox game.
These are like above and beyond. I love them.
Oh yeah. Also, I don't know. It does kind of look like the tiles change based on your country, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's kind of zoomed out. Because I was saying, the little lion tiles in the background, I was hoping that would, like, change based on your coat of arms.
I don't know. But yeah, the floor tiles definitely look different in different pictures.
Right.
So I would assume that, you know, that depending, your throne room will be dependent on your culture. Currently, like it is right now, when you see your characters on the loading screen or the main menu screen, you've got a different court background. I'm guessing that that's sort of going to be inspiration for the aesthetics of your throne room. That would be my logical
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. I'm definitely hoping that we get lots of events for like trading and buying historical relics and stealing.
Scheming.
Maybe you can dig up some like really, really old stuff, like ancient Roman stuff would be cool.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe based on where you are, like you're not gonna dig up some Roman stuff if you're down in Ethiopia.
Right. So, yeah, looking pretty cool so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what like the full throne room looks like with people in it and stuff. You can kind of see yes. In this one with the statue, we can see some people standing here. I don't know if they are. They you know, they might have fled here because they are royalists. They might have fled here from the Bolsheviks in Russia. We finally as I mentioned at the top of the show, we finally found out where the Romanovs were hiding. And they're hiding in this little branch of the new Soviet focus tree, which I don't know. It's so there's two paths. There's like a monarchist non-aligned path where you bring back the Romanovs, but then they also get a fascist path, which I think is really weird for the Soviet Union. Because like Germany doesn't get a communist path, so like letting the Soviets completely switch sides seems a little bit weird to me. And yeah, like I think there's quite a few dislikes on this, and I think it's because like Russia didn't get any sort of like middle democratic path. They have three different communist paths. They have a monarchist path and they have a fascist path, which is yeah, I would have rather seen like a democratic path. I know I was talking about
I feel like a democratic path would have made more sense
right
than a fascist one.
like who's real I guess I mean I know the answer to this question. Who's really going to play fascist Russia?
I'm sure there will be an ISP video within days of the ending.
Yeah. And I mentioned I was kind of disappointed they didn't get it like an anarchist path. I'm glad they did get like the Supreme Soviet path that Laura's talked about last week, where you could not have a single leader. It's just like a council of trade unions. That's probably the one I'll do first. That's kind of cool. But yeah, like, I don't know, like the pan-Slavic nationalism, I think that's kind of a cool idea in Crusader Kings. I don't know that I will even bother with that in Hearts of Iron. It's just, I don't know. It's an idea that, like, when you put it so close to the modern day, it's a little bit, it's a little bit iffy for me. Yeah, so, but they can also integrate the church. You can make the patriarch, the archpatriarch, the leader of the country if you want to go like super duper religious Russia. And then they're also adding a bunch of new releasable tags for the different Soviet republics. I think Kazakhstan was already in there, but some of these are new, like I think Komi and Timuria. That would be a really interesting country to play, because I don't think there's anything up there.
And I gotta love the RSSR.
Oh yeah, the Russian Soviet Socialist Republic. The Sakas can get their own country. The Chukota, for those of you that like playing like Chovny in EU4, they can have their own country now. I mean, most of this is just going to be forcing Russia to release stuff if you beat them, I think.
Well, and then also remember there's the setting at the beginning of Hoi 4 where you can make every releasable nation already released.
Yeah. That will also be fun. So we do have a Republic of Ukraine here too. So somebody just needs to make a Ukraine focus tree with a Makhno path so we can have anarchist Ukraine. And then that'll be basically the same thing, because then they could just take over Russia, and then you'd have anarchist Russia. But yeah, this is a big focus tree. This is a big focus tree. I think we've seen all of it now. I don't think they're hiding anything from us at this point. But yeah, I'm fairly satisfied with it. There's some stuff I feel like doesn't make sense, like this whole of the fascist branch. Yeah, I agree. I agree with people on the forums. I would have rather seen democratic.
It should be democratic, and it makes more sense considering, like, you think ideologically, both democracy and communism, from an ideological point of view, are very focused on giving the people power.
Right.
Fascism is not.
Yeah. So, and like, there were actually people that wanted, like, democratic socialism in the Russian Revolution. I think Stalin had, like, killed most of them by 1936, so maybe that's why they didn't do a democratic path, but it's not any weirder than, like, restoring the Romanov dynasty.
Yeah, no, it is no weirder than that, and it makes a lot more ideological sense than fascism.
Right. So, yeah. I'm excited to play with it. I'll probably try the Trotsky path. I'll try to do the Supreme Soviet thing where you get rid of the cult of personality and just make it rule by.
So we have Valor Game with some gems in chat.
Oh.
Russia and Ukraine are basically the same. Liana, 2021, paid for by Vladimir Putin.
I did not say that. I did not say that. I said if Ukraine became anarchist and then took over Russia, then you would have, that would be like having an anarchist Russia path.
Okay, but Valor Game is also saying, okay, but considering who this path is for, though, it's for whites being in Manchuria, not for people in Russia.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, there is some interesting stuff in the East too that I didn't bring up. Like you can basically try to like pursue revenge for the Russo-Japanese War, and I think you can actually make a deal with the Japanese too. That seems like a really hard path to go, because if you go fascist and then you go to war with Japan, who is also fascist and usually allied to Germany, suddenly you are out of allies. There's nobody who could possibly help you at that point. So I guess that's sort of like going Trotsky, where it's just like Russia versus the world. Yeah.
When we also have Zalblaze and Pat Adams in chat giving more info on Democratic and fascists. So Zalblaze is saying, in the only legitimate election in Bolshevik history, people did vote for a Democratic candidate, so it wasn't like the people didn't want it. But then Pat on the side, don't forget, though, there was a huge proto-fascist movement during the Revolution of 1905.
I actually didn't know about that. I actually have not looked. I've read a fair bit about the Russian Revolution, but I did not know that there was like a fascist movement for the Russian Revolution. I want to look more into that. That's interesting.
And then
proto-fascist, I guess, because until Mussolini, nobody knew what that term meant.
And instead of, being Russia against the world, just use the game settings to tell the UK to go fascist so you get an ally.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that. But then, like, if they end up joining the Axis, then you're still screwed. Yeah. So. Yeah. So. Good job overall on the Soviet focus tree. Again, I still love the Stalin paranoia thing. I would love to see more mechanics like that. Especially the fact that like Loris was talking about last week, that even if you're going like the Trotsky path, you still have to like deal with Stalin executing people randomly until you can get rid of him. Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, the Russian Revolution all was about giving more choices to the people, and Stellaris is also looking at giving us more choices.
Very beautiful segue there.
That was a good one. That was one of my better ones.
That was quite glorious.
I'm hopped up on Mountain Dew Baja Blast. So I'm firing on all cylinders today. I don't recommend that. But
so here with Stellaris, they're expanding traditions. So when we got traditions originally, we had 7 choices. And then over time, as they've given us more government types and stuff, they've switched some of those out for different government types. Like, I think the example they gave was some government types, instead of having diplomacy, you got adaptability. Well, now they're going to give the choices to everybody.
Yes.
So as you go through, you get to pick 7 traditions for your 7 slots. And they show the example here for the United Nations of Earth. And there are 11 slots here, or 11 traditions here. So you can pick from that 11 and make 7, which I'm not doing math on stream because that's always a bad decision. But someone can do math in chat, or, if you're watching this somewhere else, you can do the math and figure out how many different options that gives, picking the 7 out of 11.
This is solving a problem that I think has been annoying me since they introduced traditions into Stellaris, which is that, like, unless you're playing a Gestalt consciousness, everybody ends up with the same stuff by the end of the game. Like, you could choose what order you wanted to get it in, but everybody's going to end up with the exact same bonuses at the end of the game, which kind of makes it feel like a little bit pointless.
Well, and here's mine. Like, there's there's 3 here that are devoted towards war, essentially, and then subterfuge was basically like fighting other countries in a sneakier way.
Right, yeah.
But if you wanted to do a full peaceful run, previously you still had to take at least 2 warlike tradition slots.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And now you could go adaptability, diplomacy, discovery, expansion, harmony, mercantile, and prosperity, and just have a beautiful, peaceful, powerful realm. Which I kind of want to do that.
Yeah, no, that'll be really fun to try for sure. Yeah, I love that they're adding, and they're also adding another one that's like more defensive. If you just want to hide behind your star bases, which is what I do sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that they're adding one that's specific to espionage, because that's still a system I feel like they could develop more, and this will help. I think.
Well,
give you a
and
little
you
bit
can,
more to do.
and if you're going for a very powerful warlike, you're just going to fight the world. You can just totally ignore diplomacy and adaptability and get more military traditions.
Yeah, there's always that point, like when you're playing as like a devouring swarm or something, when you're like, okay, I guess I'll take this one next because
there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, might as well just finish filling out the tree here. Yeah.
They do show that some of the new ones they're adding. The mercantile tradition tree is free. The unyielding one, though, you need to have Apocalypse DLC. Subterfuge, you need to have Nemesis DLC.
Right. So if you only have the base game, you might have fewer choices, but you'll still at least have a choice. You won't be locked into.
Ooh, we apparently have a teaser being shared in chat.
Oh, let me pull that up.
Here, I'm dropping in our chat for you. Discord. Thank you, Alfred.
It opened in the wrong browser window, so we gotta move it over to this browser window. Here we go. Ancient clone vats and clone soldiers. Interesting.
We're
declining in the following planets. Okay, so this might be because last week we saw the budding thing for plantoids, so this might be like the humanoid version of that. Like maybe we'll get
possibly
a pop assembly for organic humanoid pops. That'd be my guess.
Oh, there's a 0 down in comments below saying, no, I was literally making a mod with a cloning origin. Rest in peace, all my good ideas. So this is possibly a new origin for humanoids. You are the clones.
Interesting. That would be very interesting. Yeah.
Yep. We have people talking about General Kenobi. We've been expecting you. Yep.
Of course. This is I think every Stellaris dev diary now just turns into prequel memes. The
there's a few Star Trek gifs down there too.
There's some Star Trek, yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Very interesting. I wonder, will they get access to clone armies right away? Because clone armies are pretty powerful.
I would assume. I would assume that's one of the bonuses of that.
Could be. Yeah, this is great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to having more control over my empire, not having to just spend Unity on traditions that I don't care about and I'm never going to use. So, yeah. It also says this post has been updated with some new changes following feedback from the community. I wonder what that is. Alfred, do you know what that is? Off the top of your head? Was that the market thing mercantile not requiring a DLC? I know I read about that. Valarkane says Horatio time. Yeah, maybe you'll finally be able to make Horatio in Stellaris. Pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Alfred's still here, but I know that they did say one of the changes they made is that Mercantile was going to require a DLC, and now it's not. Most recent post from Grekulf in the DevCom. Let's take a look at that really quick.
Okay.
let's see. There's a lot of stuff to scroll. Originally thought about changing the conversion. Okay, so it's probably just minor mechanical stuff. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's about all of the news that we have to cover for this week. But
From
also,
Paradox, at least.
From Paradox, the embargo has finally dropped on Humankind. I went ahead and I reviewed it for IGN, so you can check out my review over at IGN as well.
So
Rose,
for Anbenar Talk, sorry, one sec, chat. For Anbenar Talk, we're going to have to wait for Lambert and Loris to come back next week.
I have been playing some as well, but I will. I'll wait for them to get back to.
They fanboy over it.
I did a very evil run in Anbenar that I don't know if I want to talk about because
wait, Agamede has hit it on the head. Yes, they've fallen into a black hole filled with nothing but the Anbenar mod.
Yeah, I've still been playing a good bit of Anbenar. Yeah, I think we've all been playing a fair bit of Humankind, and we can actually talk about all of it now. Rose, what have you been up to with Humankind, and how are you feeling about it so far?
I'm really enjoying it, and I know how you feel about it, but I'm honestly enjoying it more than I have enjoyed Civ in years.
I've heard that from several people, yeah.
And I think part of it, I'm going to steal your thunder here, and I know that
go for it.
You find Humankind enjoyable, but currently you'd rather play Civ.
Right. Like I like it. Like I like it a fair bit. I don't love it just yet. I think that it might need an expansion or two before it replaces Civ for me, which is also true of most Civ games. Like Civ 5 was not very
Oh god, Civ 5 was hot garbage. I put it down after first playing it, and I didn't pick it up until both DLCs were out. And I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, exactly. like I was complaining about like how Humankind's religion system isn't very in-depth, and then I was like, well, yeah, Civ 5 didn't have religion at launch, so at least they have religion in here. Yeah.
Oh, apparently from Agamadeus, Humankind has hit 55,000 concurrent peak, I'm guessing on Steam, which is lower than CK3, but still solid. What was CK3 on release day?
I don't actually remember. I
know
that it was. I'm sure that it was huge. I remember that like CK3 launch was really big. Yeah, so big that the servers couldn't handle it, and we weren't able to do the Creator Coliseum.
Yeah.
Still putting Fs in the chat for that one.
Oh, CK3 was just shy of 100K.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I've talked a lot about it, obviously in my review. We also did a 3 Moves Ahead episode on it that will be out by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on SoundCloud or wherever. So it's hard to come up with something I haven't already covered, but my overall impression of it is like the late game kind of doesn't quite work for me. It feels a little bit unfinished. Like, I don't know, the pollution mechanic, did you ever see that actually do anything?
I've not gotten to the pollution mechanic. Okay. I've been playing on slow.
That's the way to go. I think that the normal, like, 300 turn pace is way too quick, but...
Well, that was always true of Civ 5 and even Civ 6. Like...
Right. Like,
just, no.
Yeah, like, I play Civ usually on Epic. I don't play Marathon. That's, like, too long, but...
One thing, here's something interesting for you to know, in case you don't, is when you're picking the length of the game, whether it's Blitz or normal Epic, what's the longest one, slow, it changes the number of stars you need to progress.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing it also affects.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like, I just loaded up a Blitz here on my computer, and it requires only, here in Neolithic period, it only requires two population to get the max 2 stars for that.
Oh wow, okay.
Knowledge stars, you only need 2 science.
Wow.
And 1 hunter star.
Yeah, that's
pretty
quick, yeah.
Yeah, and you start with 1 pop, so
right. I really like the Neolithic. Like, I think that's one of my favorite parts still. Just like it was
the requirements.
in OpenDev, yeah.
There we go. I just stumbled across. On my first turn, I walked across a food thing, which gave me 10 food, so I got 2 new pops. I earned a new era star. Now I have 3 out of 2 era stars, and I'm ready to enter the new era.
Yeah,
through the blitz.
We don't have time for this. Start building granaries. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
2 of the AIs have already picked nations.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say, what I don't know what difficulty you've been playing on, but like the default one, it starts you in the tutorial for an experienced strategy player felt like way too easy for me. Like people wouldn't declare war on me, and I was like an era and a half ahead of everybody usually. So what they say is the experienced strategy player difficulty. I would say that's more like the new strategy player difficulty. I would say try playing on Empire first, and if that's not good, bump it up to I think Civilization is actually the next one. I haven't played on Humankind, which is like their version of Deity yet.
Yeah, I played a game of that back during one of the open devs. It was hard. Like, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's kind of it's hard to pick a difficulty in 4X for me because like I want the AI to be smart and I want them to be competitive, but I really don't like it when they get a whole bunch of free stuff. Like if they just Yeah, I wish it was more dynamic, as in instead of just picking that difficulty, like you could do that and you get presets, but you could click an advanced settings button and go down and pick where you want them to get their bonuses and perks and smart. Well, like one of the settings I love in Stellaris is the one where the difficulty scales up. So like they'll start on an even footing with you, so they can't colonize the entire galaxy and like box you in. But then as you progress as a player and develop, you know, economic advantages that the AI just really can't keep up with, then they start getting like free minerals or whatever. Or even taking outside of 4X, a game like RimWorld, where when you first start, you can play with an easier setting, and then you can just go in and change it. Yeah, for sure. So, you know, you really struggle early game, but you want to have a challenge late game. You get in, build your base, all that stuff, and then you're like, okay, let's ramp up the difficulty and test everything I did. Right. Because I don't want to be, like, super boxed in the early game. Like, I don't want them to just, like, claim all the outposts and make it so, like, I don't have anywhere to expand to. But then I don't want to be in the, you know, industrial era rolling in with, like, howitzers and, like, dragoons and stuff, and, like, they're still fighting me with horse archers. Which is, like, which happened to me on one of the campaigns I played. So, yeah. So, yeah, is there a particular campaign that you played that was really interesting in the live game that I have to like going science early on is pretty OP. Yes, it is. I think that's also true in Civ, but it is very true in Humankind. And you wouldn't think about it, like, it also really depends. I mean, that's one thing I do like about the dynamic cultures. The Zhao were the people I've taken in the slower game I've been playing on stream, which gives you their district is a Confucian school, which is pretty cool. +8 stability, +1 science, but it also gives you +5 science per adjacent mountain. Yep. And I started in a mountainous region. The other reason most of the ones I built had minimum of +10 science, usually +15. Yeah, that's pretty strong. The other reason that's really good is because most of the other unique districts give you -10 stability. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
if you pick a culture that gives you plus stability on their district, that can end up being, like, really, really good. Um, Especially, if you transition into the Soviets in late game, who get those arms factories where it increases the power of all of your units for every arms factory you have, but it also, every single one of them lowers your stability by 10 in all cities, not just the city it's in. So I was eventually able to get to a point where I had like minus 300 stability in all cities, but then I had like line infantry who did more damage than a tank. it's it's kind of ridiculous. I kind of think they should probably rebalance the Soviets because yeah, they're if you have enough stability, you can really just pump your units up to like being space marines, more or less. So
Yeah.
um
Oh, and
yeah.
here's what it changes for Blitz when you get to your sorry, when you pick your ancient era. I think it's for let's just pick expansionist stars for the basics. When you're playing on normal, you need like 3 territories to get the first star
Mhm.
or something. Blitz, you need 1.
That's I wonder if it changes with the map size too, because
I don't know.
I feel like if you're playing like a long game on like a small map, there might not even be enough outposts to even get that era star.
Well, that was even happening with normal games.
Oh, really?
I was having during open dev, like getting expansionists, especially when you're playing with the because in open dev, you remember you couldn't pick how many AI you were fighting,
Right.
or
Yeah.
like you got like there was nowhere to expand. You get to like the medieval era and beyond, and it'd be like you need this many new districts, new territories to get an expansionist star. No, you weren't going to expand that way. The only I like there was no way unless you went and
Yeah.
destroyed other people's territories and took them out.
I really liked playing on a there's a continent setting called New World that makes it so that there will be at least one continent that spawns with no players on it.
Oh,
And then if you do like the minimum amount of land, I think is like 30%. So that was kind of cool because then there was like an age of discovery once everybody got better ships where we were like able to actually found outposts again after not being able to for a large part of the game. So that's a cool setting. I would recommend turning that on.
that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. And
Man,
yeah.
I believe Civ had a setting like that.
Civ 6 might have. Yeah, I can't quite remember. Yeah, more world generation settings are always cool, I think. Um yeah. Um
Um, we do have a question for Ludi. Yeah, we do sometimes show game footage. Leanna's not this time.
I could pull up Old World. We're almost gonna wrap up here. Or not Old World.
I mean,
Humankind.
here
I can't
you
remember.
could
Oh yeah,
just
I could pull it from
there
Discord.
you go. I've got it pulled up. Well, yeah,
Let me see if this
there you go. You
will.
can just pull this up.
Let me see if this will cooperate with.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, the rosebud. The rosebud. I will be right back.
Okay. Pop this window out here and see if this will cooperate with OBS without having to mess with settings. Browser and window capture. Oh, there we go. That worked pretty well. Okay. Yeah. So this is humankind, and um, yeah. So most of my thoughts about this, you can hear much more extensive thoughts about this if you check out my review, and if you check out the 3 Moves Ahead episode where we did a whole like hour and a half on it. That's my other podcast. If you don't know, about strategy games more generally, founded by Troy Goodfellow, who some of you in the Paradox world might know. And yeah, I do want to try playing more on like those two higher difficulties, like Civilization and Humankind, and see how much that changes the experience. Because yeah, it's one of my biggest problems with it is just the AI were too passive, and they didn't seem like they could keep up with me on Empire. The diplomacy system is really good. I honestly would like. I think Amplitude has figured out how to evolve past Casus Belli. So we would have to change the name of our show. But I love the idea that like your population has a certain amount of war support and the enemy has a certain amount of war support, and those can go up and down independently. So it's never like I have a reason to go to war or I don't, which is how it works in Paradox games. It's like, well, if I went to war now, my people would be this willing to fight and their people would be this willing to fight. Can I raise that number? Can I lower it for them? If I declare a surprise war, they get an immediate plus 50, and that's going to affect like how much I have to burn down and like how much I can actually take in the peace deal. I think all of that is fantastic. I think that's the best part of Humankind for me. And I would rather see that replace CBs overall, yeah.
See, this is kind of OP.
Yeah. That's a lot of science for turn 3. That is a lot of science.
And because yeah, 3 turns built just because this is, you know, really. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Zero turns to research.
That's one thing you can do in Humankind that Civ doesn't do, is that like if you have enough science points, you can just unlock a technology instantly.
Yes, cool. And it saves it, which is also and it does the same thing with hammers. Right. So, you know, the more, if you combine your cities into one mega city, it doesn't really hurt your building ability.
Right. So yeah, I guess my overall recommendation would be, if you feel really burned out on Civilization and you want something that's gonna like be like majorly different, I don't know if Humankind will be the game for you. But if you already really like historical 4X and you already play a lot of Civilization, I think you'll really say like Humankind.
I'm burned out on Civ.
Okay.
I tried to pick it up again year and a half ago before I ever got my hands on Humankind. And
yeah?
No. I ended up rage quitting.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, all right. Well, have you been playing anything or doing anything else on your channel besides Humankind this week?
Stardew Valley.
Hell yeah.
Because that game's still everything. And we've got the Rosebud here, our mascot.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So that's true. As Chris is pointing out in chat, Humankind is also on Game Pass.
That's true. Yep. So you can try it out.
That.
Pretty risk-free, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not done with it. I'm still gonna be playing it, so. Yeah. What are you up to in Stardew these days?
Doing some multiplayer with a friend and fellow streamer, Pat Adams.
Nice.
We are currently in the fall of the first year. And let me tell you, setting it so you don't get 100% cash is painful.
Yeah. I would imagine so. I've never even tried it that way.
It's painful.
I should get back. I feel like my farm is just neglected. I haven't loaded up Stardew in a while.
Rosebud is upset about you for not.
Yeah, you know, that's fair. That's fair that you're mad at me for neglecting my farming duties. That's a fair criticism. I'll take it. Yeah. Well, other than Civ review, or not the Civ. Can I ever say the correct name of the game that I'm actually talking about?
Humankind. I mean, I'm actually be going live with stuff.
I think Rosebud might have gotten your microphone again.
Yes, he did.
You're gonna need to like cover up the little light on the front so he doesn't.
I need to do something. I wish there was a way to disable it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
he's minimized, and I can't even see chat anymore. So.
Yeah. So other than the Humankind review, which has been most of the last week for me, obviously I've still been playing some Onbenar. I tried out the Sun Elves and just tried to be as much of a jerk as possible, just to see what that was like.
I'm sorry you're gonna take down your loading screen and show this to chat. I've been replaced on the podcast.
Oh, let's see. Let's where did I put that? Did I put it on the browser share? Oh. It says you are not streaming.
No, I shared an image.
Oh, an image. Okay. I'm so bad at this. End screen. Image source. I can probably just pull it up in a... Oh. Okay. Open link. Yes. Move it to the other window.
Professionals here, folks.
This will take but a moment. Where did I put... Okay, there's the diary.
There.
Dev diary with the browsers. And then I need to go
there you go. If that yeah. I also just put them on the Discord and you can see which one's easier.
There we go. There he is. Yep. Pro gamer. Real pro gamer moves. Yeah.
He's taken over.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so that's
and he's using the scroll wheel on my mouth.
He really likes that scroll wheel.
Yes.
From editing past episodes, I know that he really likes that scroll wheel. So he looks like he's he looks like he's focusing really hard too on whatever he's doing there.
He's making chat go up and down right now.
Oh, nice. So yeah, say hi, chat. Humankind, a little bit of Onbenar, and I think that's mostly it. Oh, I've gotten back into Minecraft again. I'm writing about the update they're doing for that, because they're adding like big mountains. They're making caves twice as deep. It's pretty cool. Not really strategy related, but I still get on a Minecraft kick every once in a while.
And now he's playing Humankind.
I like to build like historically accurate Celtic oppidum and stuff like that.
I'm sure that takes a while.
It takes a very long time, especially in survival mode, but it's kind of a chill thing to zone out and do. So, yeah.
Hello.
Well, I think that is going to be all for this week. Here is all of our social media stuff. And you can always follow the podcast at NoCB. Subscribe to us, give us stars, give us likes, give us reviews. Helps more people find us. And
yes, and YouTube gets updated usually within 12 to 24 hours of Leanna getting us up on everywhere else.
Yes. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, the black hole will relent from swallowing people.
Yes, though the week after, the black hole will be swallowing me up.
Yes.
For a week or two.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we might try to book some dev guests for.
Yes, I think that'd be a good decision.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I believe the Victoria 3 new community ambassador isn't able to be on right away, but would like to be on sometime later this year.
He is currently in the middle of trying to orchestrate move to Sweden. So
yeah, which I've known enough people who have done that I know there's a lot of logistical complications involved, especially if you're moving to Stockholm.
I'm sure right now with the world bear epidemic.
Of course. Yeah, there's so many bears all over the place, yeah.
That it's causing all sorts of mass confusion and extra hoops to jump through and stuff.
Right. So we'll see you back here the same time next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everybody!